So that's the sort of background. This is sort of what we believe in. This is what we think makes for a good mental health ward. So talking therapies, which remains, in my opinion, by far the weakest aspect of inpatient care. I mean, slightly sort of alarmingly, that it's still heavily focused, whatever staff's intentions and desires, because of expense and all the rest of it, talking therapies are way down here, and they should be up here, and not just CBT. And almost everything I say, we've got a feature on in orthopedics, we've got a feature about talking therapies, so it's good, because it doesn't have to go on and on and on now, because I can just refer you to the feature on talking therapies about, and Wardpedia, so just because I keep referring to it, is an online compendium of great inpatient practice. So starting off with consultant appointments rather than the dreaded ward round. God, if you made one change, just abandon terrible ward rounds and have consultant appointments. Most of the changes can be done with no costs. No financial costs, a little bit of emotional costs, all the wrangling with the consultants, but that would transform wards. Relational security, animals, other thing, top of the list, you want to transform patients' experiences, get a pet, preferably a dog, otherwise anything, goldfish, hamster. Hopefully Ellie might tell us some of the creatures you've smuggled onto the wards. And on, about food, sport, physical health, activity, stuff for men, appreciative culture, leadership, which I will be talking a bit about. But anyway, talking therapy is very important, and the rest of it is pretty sort of important. But actually, I suppose it's worth flagging up that the people that we spend, as patients, that we spend most time with on wards are other patients. And there's a huge focus on, understandably and rightly, on patients and staff. But actually, we spend, 80-90% of our time with other patients, and there's quite a lot that can be done to nurture that, and also protect patients, because it's normally great, but I did once barricade myself in my room at St Anne's, because I was fed up of being interrupted at 3 in the morning to be asked for a cigarette. Now, I'm a keen smoker, and I'm a very sort of committed smoker, but that's still exceptionally annoying, and I did barricade myself in with a whole load of razor blades, which went down extremely badly at St Anne's. I don't know what their problem is, but I thought that was very, very poor practice, but on my part. But anyway, but the relationship between patients, very, very important. But it's about people. One of the things we strongly encourage, and again will make a huge difference at no cost. Most of our staff, no cost, apart from talking therapy, stuff we discover and promote, is staff being allowed to be themselves. I won't use that much overused, but very important word, compassion, kindness, all that stuff. Sense of humour, and also their skills, a whole bunch of skills that people got. And some wards do audits of staff sort of non-clinical skills, what languages they speak, what sports they do, what films they like, and these are really, really important for ward life. Okay, and again, feature on that in Wardpedia so it's a bit of a play on the American thing about bring your daughter to work. So our thing is bring yourself to work, There's a feature on ways to involve patients, because we collect examples of good practice from around the country. So for instance, I think it was 5 Boroughs Partnership, which if I think it is, probably means it wasn't, because I haven't got a good memory, but I think it was them, that had a video box. And that's a very groovy thing to sort of collect feedback. I mean, that's sort of up here, but even, sorry about this, anyone from Barnet, Enfield and Harrogate here? Love Barnet, Enfield and Harrogate. I love St Anne's, and even though it's very nice being here, I'd rather be locked up right now on a ward in St Anne's, because it's very difficult being sort of at loose, at large in the community. But this was it. This is around, I think it's in Kent, could be Hampshire, I think it's Kent. And it just blew my mind. Not least that staff had done all of that, and I don't know if you can see it, of course I can't reach, but all the way around the frame, there are cut-out photos of film stars, cut out by staff, and the whole ward is just fabulously decorated with images from the 90s. It's an old people's ward. It's an old people's ward, fabulously decorated with images from 1940s movies. I mean, age-appropriate, high status, staff going more than one extra mile, really going the extra mile, bless you. Really magnificent. And they have lovely reminiscence room. That's their reminiscence room. How lovely is that? But you can also get pop-up reminiscence rooms. And all sorts. And frankly, you're better off having, one reminiscence object than none. I suppose with all our things with Star Wars, for those of you that haven't even said what Star Wars is, right? Does anyone want to know does anyone need to know what Star Wars is? We work with mental health wards to improve patients' experiences by collecting ideas and sharing them. And so, you know, with all our ideas, we flag up both small things like spontaneous, one of my favourites is spontaneous frisbee game with paper plates on a PQ. They were bored, didn't know what to do, you know, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But with other things, even quite big things, wards adapt. You don't have to have the whole shebang, but actually if you've got an old-fashioned, you know, radio, it's a talking point, and with many, many of the things we promote, it's not just because of what they are, what they do, what happens, it's actually about the conversational potential, and conversation is a huge thing on wards. And not easy, absolutely not easy, and we've got a resource called Talkwell. Anyone come across it? Anyone used it, Talkwell? Right, well there we are, that's good, that's something that you can take back. Talkwell is a sort of guide for staff and a training resource about talking to patients. It can be extremely difficult, and certainly in the early days on the ward when I was at St Anne's, staff struggled to even make eye contact, let alone say hello, let alone anything else. So, and I've heard this many times. Not, you know, may not happen on any of your wards, but it's very, very common out there. The staff just don't. They're too scared or whatever, paralysed and unconfident to engage with us. Sort of grouped 77 ideas around 7 headings, which make up the mnemonic. Imagine, and that came from, the imagination thing came from a book. If I were to recommend 2 books to you, in fact on leadership, one is The Happy Manifesto, downloadable free from the Happy website. If you just Google Happy Manifesto or happy.co.uk, you can download it free or you can buy it. It's now Coke and Page, so quite a sort of mainstream management publisher has produced it. There is also a feature on Star Wars in here. But basically, we're very, very influenced by Henry Stewart, and his whole thing is about trusting, supporting, and equipping staff. And that's our thing. We could have gone down one route, which was after my mixed experience at St Anne's when I set up Star Wars. I could have been very, you know, done the whole, how do we it's just terrible, it's just terribly, all terrible, it's all terrible. But actually, I'm deeply appreciative of, I think you've gathered, of the care I get. And I understand, I've used to manage care services, so I understand what the real problems are for management, for staff, and so on. And so we're trying to help. And Henry really influenced me about trusting staff. So in our case, it's about trusting ward staff and managers and helping and being appreciative. And then in some ways it's passing that on about saying, look, if you want your frontline staff to be, it's very, very simple. You want your frontline staff to be nice to patients, you have to be nice to the staff. It is as simple as that. If you're not nice to the staff, they will not be nice. They cannot be nice to patients. And in some ways, I think I was just muttering to Paul at the door, it's terribly simple, aspects of it terribly simple. If managers could articulate what's in their heads, and in particular, the 2 phrases, well done and thank you, those 2 phrases, you'll know already from all the surveys that have been done about why do people work and blah, 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 it's appreciation, satisfaction first, and then pay and stuff. And we know no one's going to be in our sector for that money. So, and staff, I think managers often feel very appreciative, and they feel they're looking in an appreciative way, or they're inferring appreciation. But actually, if you can say, well done, and ideally, well done for, or thank you for, and be specific, again, totally free. These do make a huge impact to staff morale, and then on to patient morale. Anyone heard of, or ideally read, If Disney Ran Your Hospital? Okay, another treat in store. Okay, I know it sounds all very Mickey Mouse, but actually it's superb. And again, if anyone knows about giving customers a decent experience, it's Disney. But what's interesting about the book is that it's actually about how to treat staff really well. And again, trusting, supporting, equipping staff so that they can then be lovely to the punters. So those 2 books. Thank you. Impact. Oh, right, very, very quickly. Has Star Wars made an impact? We've just done our latest members survey, and it's clear we are making less of an impact than we did for our first 3 years or so, which is sort of gutting, frankly. But anyway, nevertheless, still making an impact. But initially, it was, I mean, just phenomenal. And there's, I don't know, I've got 165 pages of quotes, which I haven't reproduced for you. But and some extraordinary transformations. The biggest of which that we know about was Lagan Valley, who very generously let us share their story in Belfast. They went from the patient's been in bed all day. And then that's basically, even St Anne's. So even at St Anne's, they got us out of bed. But we didn't do anything all day. We were at least out of bed, not doing anything. But in Langford, they were in bed all day. They picked up our stuff. They didn't even join. You don't need to join Star Wars, just have a look at our website. And within 2 or 3 months, the ward was transformed. There were activities, there was conversation, there were relationships, and then 18 months later, they got our full Monty Award for having all 75 ideas in place. It was breathtaking. I think it cost them a few £100. You know, it's mainly about doing things differently and about feeling confident and enthusiastic, really. Probably not time. Therapeutic liaison workers, really, actually, they're activity coordinators, but it's a very, very well constructed idea by a healthcare assistant, Nick, who's now working with us 4 days a week. We sort of nicked him slightly from Leicester, from Leicestershire. He's still working a day a week on the wards, though. And it's a sort of it's a role for healthcare assistants, a sort of enhanced role, and Leicestershire have absolutely bought into it and are now employing a whole load of therapeutic liaison workers. I say sort of activity coordinators, but it's given a real boost. And also shows that healthcare assistants, if listened to, you know, they're the ones to contact, they can do great things. Okay, and then loads and loads of small, impactful changes. I mean, there was sort of tantalising research done, but it was done looking at introducing productive ward and star wards. Now, obviously, I'm sure 99% was down to us, you know, a tiny bit of productive ward, but who knows? Who knows? But actually, overall, I mean, given that everyone's doing productive ward, most people, I would imagine, anyway, it's interesting to see if you add star wards in, what happens. And the results were extraordinary. So recorded incidents down from an average of 13 months to 13, average length of stay down from 25 to 20 days. So that was interesting. And then there was separate research done in 2010 by Alan Simpson, who many of you will know. And basically, it really helped. You know, better satisfaction, lower levels of aggression and violence, better teamwork, blah, blah, blah. So we've been researched, and we're just doing, we've just finished our member survey, but I haven't had time to compile it. But there's certainly evidence that fewer wards are taking part, but those that are seem to be getting similar sort of benefits. And finally, it's mentioned Picture Buddy, really. Joke there. I think it's just sheer sort of, what's the word, propaganda really, I'm just me blatantly flogging Star Wars, you know, saying, why not, you know, it's great, and we have literally hundreds and hundreds of quotes along those lines, sort of saying, staff love it, patients love it, doesn't cost anything, so I think that is me done, yes. Yeah.